Allow me to introduce myself. I'm the CEO at Reset Carbon. Reset is an environmental service provider. We're based in Hong Kong. We service clients almost exclusively in Asia. Our business model is typical kind of carbon and energy management play. We provide strategy services to corporations, and we provide data and monitoring solutions to track carbon performance over portfolios of capital stock, and then we have engineering solutions to help our clients reduce their footprint across their portfolio. I may be the only engineer on this panel. My perspective is slightly different, but Civic Exchange did ask for that, so bear with me. What I'd like to do when I look at the Hong Kong green building market is I'd like to take the perspective of, let's say, an investor. Let's say I was an analyst, perhaps working for our shareholders, and I was going to take a look at the Hong Kong green building market. What would I see, what would I feel, and what would I think need to happen, briefly? So I think after having done this research, I come to the conclusion that I think we're having a lively and constructive conversation about green buildings in Hong Kong, but currently I don't believe we're actually actively building a market. What do I mean by that? What are the requirements for a successful market development? First of all, we need to understand the nature of our product or our service and how it is performing in the marketplace. We need to understand what the value proposition behind our product or service is. We need to develop a set of business and social policy objectives related to that value proposition. So if I'm a government, I need to develop policy and regulation in accordance with how strong I feel that value proposition is. If I'm a business and I think this is a good opportunity to make money, I need to invest and build a business strategy accordingly. And then we need to go and develop these initiatives and make the value proposition, whether it's a commercial one or a social policy one, realized. When I look at Hong Kong, largely, this is what I think we have right now. I don't think we have an understanding of the product and how it's performing in the marketplace. I don't think we have a clear understanding of the value proposition. I don't think we have a set of social policy objectives. I think we do have a lot of initiatives. So what I find interesting about Hong Kong is there's a lot of action and a lot of conversation and a lot of expertise. But do I believe the green building market is going to grow substantially and provide new employment opportunities, new revenue generation opportunities, and the opportunity for substantial environmental protection? Under the current market conditions, I don't. Let's look at sizing the market. Now, if I look at LEED is a definition of a green building. I won't get into definitions of green buildings because you're likely all engineers and it could get technical. LEED is one definition. What's interesting about LEED is they size their market. So they tell you in some detail actually how LEED is performing. They give you this graphic here shows you the difference between the different types of LEED certification and how they are performing year on year and how they're projected to perform in 2030. They give you a good market sizing, floor area in particular. They give you a good breakdown by the different types of LEED certification, the type, the level of performance. They give you trends and they give you projections. As an analyst, I can look at this data and with some confidence start to make some decisions about the nature of the opportunity that LEED drives. This is Neighbours. One figure from Neighbours. Here what they're doing is they're showing me how Neighbours is penetrating the market, the energy system and the water system. Neighbours has a couple, I think more actually, and how it's penetrating by state. It's giving me data that now allows me as a potential investor or a potential entrepreneur to say, okay, how are my market opportunities differentiating in different states in Australia? I'm getting market information about the level of penetration of green buildings into the existing stock, which tells me quite a lot about the level of opportunity for keeping those buildings green and the level of potential for new buildings. This is what happens when I look at Hong Kong. If I go across the Beam website, the Hong Kong Green Building Council website, and the BEC website, and this is the triumvirate of organizations that really has brought BEAM to market, I am not finding a consistent statement about how BEAM is performing in the market now, about the trends in BEAM year on year and the market penetration and the level of success, and about the future projections. I'm finding a lot of conversation, but I'm not finding analysis, and I'm not finding data that I can base an investment decision upon. Actually, it's quite confusing. Maybe I take another approach. Maybe I look at energy performance data. That's a good proxy for a bunch of green building trends. Maybe I go to the government and I start to look at the data that the government is giving us in Hong Kong. Remember, Hong Kong, not a very big place. Getting good resolution data with a government as well-resourced as Hong Kong shouldn't be too much of a problem. Maybe they can tell me about how different types of property are evolving in terms of efficiency. Maybe I can get some insights into efficiency trends. There's opportunities around whether they're getting better or worse. It's a different kind of opportunity. This is what I get from EMSD if I look on their website. September 2012 energy data as it relates to the office segment, for example. It's not very useful. It doesn't break things down into a level of resolution that I can really understand market trends. So the government data is not helping me, again, size the market. Actually, there was a little button on the website that said, press here if you want more information. I thought, this is fantastic. It's going to open up a huge world of statistics and charts. Actually, it invites me to pay $5,500 and send an information request. I'm like, what if I forget something? Do I have to pay more? So, again, from an analyst perspective, sizing the market perspective, I don't have great data about the level of penetration of green buildings, the future potential for green buildings and changes in the marketplace. Valuing green buildings. LEED has got some great stuff on the value of green buildings, and it's front and center on their marketing materials, very easy to get. Don't forget, this is all stuff I pulled together in 3 to 4 hours online. So again, I'm not suggesting that none of this information exists, but if you can't pull it together in the first couple of pages on a Google search, then most people will never pull it together. So this is very accessible. It tells me quite clearly about the various rental, sales price, vacancy rate premiums associated with a LEED building. That's pretty interesting. If I'm looking to sell green buildings or green building technology, or if I'm looking to regulate to support green buildings, this kind of data is very, very important to me. It shows that there is a strong commercial upside to high penetration of green building stock. If I look at neighbors, I've got the same thing. I've got good data on how neighbors drives energy savings. I've got good data on all kinds of different value premiums, all kind of different premiums. As with LEED, this one is just the chart talks about building value. Hong Kong is a bit of a struggle. I eventually found some guy did a questionnaire, and this is like slide 20. So what I'm getting is secondary data from a source that don't particularly trust, that's telling me a bit about the potential commercial upside and how the market views it in Hong Kong. So what I'm starting to understand now is Hong Kong doesn't value green buildings in a Hong Kong context. We can go outside and we can talk about other countries, but again, that's not very relevant if we're making decisions about our future here. So we don't have a good idea in our industry about the value of green buildings in a Hong Kong context. Goals. Once we've, understand where we are and the trends, once we understand the value proposition, we can set goals. So this is a press release. It's a great press release. I was quite impressed to see a press release of this quality. It's, all the aspects of a good press release are in this first paragraph. At least 80% of the buildings in Singapore will achieve a Green Mark certification by 2030. Okay, strong indication of market size coming out there. The government is going to do a bunch of stuff to support that. Great, government incentives, strong opportunity signal. And there's a big value proposition associated with it. 1, 2, 3 in one paragraph. Very clear priority. Very clear value proposition. Very clear opportunity. When I look at green building market goals in Hong Kong, this is kind of what I came up with. I appreciate I wasn't digging that deep, but that's really as far as I could go. So when we look at Hong Kong, is Hong Kong such a weird place that it's impossible here to drive a big green building market in? I don't think so. We are very familiar with the pluses and minuses of green buildings kind of at the global level. If we look at Hong Kong specific barriers, there are some. Occupancy rates are very high. Tenants don't have a lot of market power, so that consumer driver isn't very strong. Big corporates that have driven some of this commercial trend in other countries, they don't have their head offices in Hong Kong. They view their office space very differently to, say, New York or London. Government policy is a little weak, but it's a little weak in a lot of places. The NGOs aren't really weighing in to put pressure or offer major incentives to people that go green. Okay. But on the other hand, energy costs are rising, and they might rise a lot more if we go to gas. We're taking a growing responsibility for carbon emissions. We're looking at a target. We've got excellent tools. BEAM is a world-class building rating tool. I don't think there's any argument about that. It's been in the market a long time. It has a huge constituency behind it. It's a very, very valuable piece of intellectual property. And then we have a robust skills and technical support. We have a lot of people that know their stuff in Hong Kong. This all looks pretty good to me. So, conclusion. The value proposition for green buildings is as strong in Hong Kong as anywhere else. We've got huge technical expertise and huge enthusiasm. You see that in this room. Excellent work has already been done to make tools available that will allow us to define and be rewarded for building green. But if we can't size our market, and if we can't develop a clear value proposition behind the green building opportunity at a market level, we are not going to be setting, investors won't come and build businesses to try and invest into the green building opportunity at scale, and government won't regulate. So we will be missing an opportunity and end up with a conversation rather than a market. Thank you very much.